15 goals, 11 assists and 74 appearances since he's moved to Newcastle. Has he pushed on to become what you expected him to be?
Well, I think he's doing a very good job. He's improving quickly.
Week after week, Anthony Gordon keeps proving why he's right up there with the best wingers in the Premier League.
Here's Gordon. It's into the bottom corner. Anthony Gordon has restored Newcastle's lead.
He's been so good that he went from battling relegation to demanding a place in last summer's Euros.
Yeah. Who would you play out wide then if Foden's going to play out of 10?
I'm gonna get shit for this, and I don't give a shit. But honest to God, on the basis of how he's played this season,
Go on.
I would actually give, like, even just gamble, just play him once in just one of the group stages games. Start him, Anthony Gordon.
So how has Anthony Gordon transformed then? Well, it's because of something unique he does that even his manager knows puts him in a class above everyone else. Before we get into any of that though, hit that subscribe button to Football Historia for more quality content like this. When the rumours came about a potential move to Newcastle for Anthony Gordon, it's safe to say the hype around it wasn't that much.
It's a squad that looks like it will be without Anthony Gordon, who's reported to be heading to Newcastle for £40 million, Naden. Is he any good?
What way to phrase a question? Yeah, of course he's good.
There's no denying Gordon's talent and the potential he had to become a proper player. But the issue with him was the inexperience he had. And because of it, many people didn't think he'd make the grade at Newcastle. His numbers weren't that great either. He'd scored 8 goals and given 2 assists in 67 matches for Everton. A figure that should have been more, but he still had elements like this in his game that were clearly holding him back. All of that has changed though. Gordon is 2 seasons into his Newcastle career now, and in that period, he's become a sensation.
You're looking at a young kid, who can break defensive line, with his pace, his dribble as well, and that's very, very important. And
since joining the Toon Army, Gordon has been one of the key players for Eddie Howe's team, becoming so good that he's now scored against every one of the traditional top 6 teams in the Premier League whilst playing for Newcastle. He's even broken into the English national team due to his performances for the Magpies. You get the idea by now. Anthony Gordon has transformed from being that skinny winger at Everton to a goal threat at Newcastle. The question is, how did this happen? How's he changed? And where has a new edge to his game come from? Well, a lot of it comes down to this guy.
Internally, it's expectations in check. It's not putting unnecessary pressure on ourselves. Let's just go into the next game and try and win it and try and execute our game plan like we have in the previous games.
Eddie Howe is a big fan of Anthony Gordon, and he makes no secret about it.
Well, I think he'll give us a lot. I think he's a young player with huge attributes, huge potential to...
Eddie Howe could see the potential in Anthony Gordon, even with the flaws in his game. Howe knew if he could get Gordon to improve, there was some player in there. On his part, Anthony Gordon was now ready for the next challenge. And if things had taken a different turn, I probably wouldn't be making this video because he'd have been playing for a different team. Chelsea wanted him.
And their search for a forward. Right, Mark, what's happening with Anthony Gordon?
This is a developing story, and he's been one of those players that's been courting interest from a number of Premier League sides throughout the course of this summer. Newcastle, Tottenham at the beginning of the window, and most recently, Chelsea.
And according to reports, were even willing to pay more just to get him to the club. But in the end, Gordon chose Newcastle and Eddie Howe's project a few days before the end of the January transfer window of 2023. And with all the transfer saga over, it was now time for the new man to prove himself. It didn't quite start the way either would have wanted, and to sum it up, one moment in particular stands out. Gordon getting angry at Eddie Howe for subbing him off against Brentford. Still, Eddie Howe took no offence to this, because it was all part of his plan to mould Gordon into a player that would fit the team, and coming down to the present day, it's more than worked. In the 2024-25 season, as at the time of recording this, Anthony Gordon has 15 goal contributions in 30 games for Newcastle this season. That's a goal contribution every 2 games. And it gets better when you realise he's popping up with key moments in big games for the club. Alexander Isak gets the praise for the goal, but as you can see here, it's Gordon's incredible cross that makes the difference. So how has Anthony Gordon transformed then?
Yeah, he has, and he's been in great form for us. When we signed him, we knew we were signing a player of huge potential, real ability.
Like Eddie Howe said, Anthony Gordon has added end product to his game. As important as this is, for Anthony Gordon, it's even more. You see guys, the end product, decision making, was the final thing missing from his game. There was no question of his talent. Add this to the fact that he was tenacious and an excellent dribbler of the ball too. And Gordon was in that developmental stage where it was obvious that if he could start getting goals, assists and numbers to his game, his stock would rise. It certainly has. We talked about his 15 goal contributions this season, and if we look at the numbers and break them down a bit, it gets even better. In the Premier League this season, Gordon has 11 goal contributions, which ranks him in the 86th percentile in that category, and it gets even better. Amongst left wingers in the Premier League, only Matheus Cunha with 15 and Son Heung-min with 13. All at the time of recording this, have better numbers than Anthony Gordon. When it comes to dribbling, Anthony Gordon hasn't slowed down either. 67 dribbles attempted this season, 30 completed. Both rank him in the 88th and 87th percentile for the respective categories. As you can see now, that from the metric above, Anthony Gordon is proving to be one of the most effective wingers in the league, and that's saying a lot. The development with Gordon has been a continued trend, meaning it didn't just start this season. He's only improving on where he was from the last campaign. Anthony Gordon is enjoying his football and, just like the rest of his teammates, must be enjoying playing with arguably the most informed striker in Europe right now. It's not just Gordon assisting Isak, they've shown it can be the other way round as well. The duo have quickly become two of Newcastle's most informed players. In the 2024-25 season, versus the Big Six teams for example, they've contributed a joint total of 12 goals and 4 assists. If one isn't scoring or assisting, the other is, and shifting the focus solely on Gordon, having a striker like Isak on the end of the runs and his crosses into the box makes him as effective down the wing. Now, we did talk about Gordon's upturn in form this season going down to Eddie Howe, and to understand this, we need to understand how Eddie Howe sets up his Newcastle team, which in turn allows Anthony Gordon to perform. They usually line up in a 4-3-3 shape, but as you can see from the clip above, it changes when the team is in possession, as they use unorthodox moves to confuse the opposition, like pushing Trippier or whoever plays at right back high up the pitch to get him into crossing positions, or having two midfielders stay on the base and the third on either side to create an outlet or an advanced passing option. But again, we want to see this from the angle of Anthony Gordon. We see that Anthony Gordon on the left plays narrowly, and this simple change here at Newcastle is what kick-started the productive start in Gordon's career.
Yeah, I mean, he's a bit raw, but he's very fast, he's very direct.
This was the verdict with Anthony Gordon at Everton, a very fast player, direct too, but from a tactical standpoint, this style would have suited Gordon at Everton more than anywhere else. At Everton, Gordon became the outball. By this it means, because of his pace, he became the player who could progress with the ball and get the team high up the pitch. It also means that the team wasn't exactly concerned with his goal scoring or assist numbers.
I think that's a conversation for me to have with Anthony. I don't think it's worth hanging on too much. He's taking on too many bookings. I'm more worried about his whole game and just working with him on that front, and the booking thing has been a small part of that too.
This was Frank Lampard, Gordon's former coach at Everton, talking about Gordon potentially improving his end product if he wanted to make the English national team in the future. So now we understand this, what he was at Everton. It's back to the tactics with Eddie Howe. That tactical shift, playing Anthony Gordon narrow, means he's closer to the goal. It also means that he's able to get more shots and more goal-contributing actions too. At this point of the season, in the league, he's taken 34 shots at goal, with 18 of them being on target. Just to highlight this point of getting more efforts on goal, in the entire 2021-22 and 22-23 seasons, Gordon only managed 28 and 24 shots respectively. In the 2023-24 season, that number was up at 55 for the entire season, meaning there is reason to believe he can beat that number this season. With Eddie Howe, it's about combining his players' biggest attributes and putting them in ways that fit the team to find a balance.
Let's fucking get it. Let's blow them away with our running. Let's be intense in every action that we do. Let's make it a quick game. Let's go.
You can hear him talk about needing that running and speed up top. It just makes you understand that he had a plan for Anthony Gordon when he signed him. Honestly, Anthony Gordon is benefiting from playing under a manager like Eddie Howe. As a player, sometimes you're only just as good as the manager or the tactics the team sets out with. And in this case, Gordon's performances are on the up, because he's playing with a manager who understands him. Take, for example, this assist for Isak's thumping header versus Arsenal. Then take this. The second one might have been offside, but it takes nothing away from the point we're about to make. Anthony Gordon can play on either side just as comfortably. Eddie Howe understands this. and as a result tries to optimise him in ways that can hurt the opposition. I could go on and on with the positives for Gordon about playing under a manager like Eddie Howe. But the thing is, for a player like him, improving his game eventually comes down to himself, even before the manager. And to this end, we're seeing performances from a man who is as ambitious to succeed as they come.
Ultimately, too ambitious to turn down the opportunity that was presented to me. Newcastle only going one way. Looking from the outside, they were absolutely flying. I think they were fourth when I was just signing.
Gordon was very clear about why he left Everton. It's a family club. It's where he grew up. But he also wanted to succeed. In his words, he could see the direction Newcastle was headed to and decided it was best for him to join the team and become a part of it. Now that was in the bag, it was time for Gordon to prove himself, and listening to the man talk about his game on and off the pitch, it's easy to see why he keeps getting better. In this interview, he talks about meditation and how it impacts his game, how he visualizes his performances in every detail, from arrival to the pre-match, the warm-ups, and then the game. Or here, him talking about his routine after the game, how according to him he has to watch the game immediately to analyse the things he's done in the match, both the good stuff and the bad stuff. You see guys, the difference between average and great in any sport, not just football, is the little details. Stuff like we're hearing Gordon talk about, visualising in detail the match and what happens before it, watching his clips back to see the areas he can improve on, or even when he talks about eating at a certain time to stay at optimal levels. Now at the start of the video, I did mention a unique thing Anthony Gordon does. Something he has that even his manager knows puts him a cut above the rest. What is it?
He's got this desire to get better every day. Every day he steps on the training pitch, he's wanting to do extra. We have to sometimes take him off the pitch ourselves.
The extras. He's never satisfied with the training sessions, as you've heard Eddie Howe speak about. They have to drag him off the training pitch because he wants to do more. Again, it's with the extras. It's the stuff no one sees. He's off the camera and he's putting in as much work off it in doing his part to improve and getting on the pitch. That's a quality not many people possess in the game. The ability to keep going even after training sessions or after drills. The need to want to do more because the general stuff isn't enough. That is again what sets elite ballers apart from the rest. Still, on the aspect of Gordon improving, he's matured into a voice in that Newcastle dressing room.
I think that everyone's in agreement with that at the minute. He's on absolute fire. But I want to mention Dan Burn as well. He's been our player of the season for me. Every game he's been absolutely outstanding.
You listen to him praise his teammates here. Alexander Isak, Fabian Schär, and he acts like he's the captain or the leader of the group, something that wouldn't be too hard to imagine with him. Even Gordon himself sees it too. It gets better when you realise he's still only 23. He's got his career ahead of him, and yet he's already talking like a leader. Big performances like this meant it was only a matter of time before he made his England debut. He made his debut for the English national team in a 1-0 defeat to Brazil. Now, it might not have been the debut he would have wanted, but there was plenty of reasons to believe he'd have much better outings playing for England. He made the cut for the English squad that made it to the final of the Euro 2022, and even though he only played a minute in the entire competition, it would have been a proper learning curve for him, because on his part, playing for England has always been his dream.
So it was never a thought for me, and that's no disrespect to Scotland at all. I just think I've been tunnel visioned on playing for England since I was 5-6 years old, and nothing could ever shake that off. And
back in November, he did one step better than playing for the national team. Gordon scored his first goal for England in the 5-0 win against Ireland. And you get the feeling with him, it's the first of many more to come. Anthony Gordon will only get better if he keeps up with his progression rate, that's a fact. I mean, we're dealing with a guy who we showed had that scuffle with his manager early on, and in his next season ended up winning the club's Player of the Season award. Incredible! His attitude and skill set make him a unique talent. Combine this with a coach who is out to get the best out of him, and it makes a very interesting picture of just how good the guy is. In the previous summer window, despite just signing for Newcastle the season before, there were heavy links with Anthony Gordon going back to Merseyside, this time to the red half of the city.
So Anthony Gordon is a player that Liverpool like, and I think that deal might happen before the window closes at the end of August. But
do you really,
July.
Mark?
Well, it's August today, I suppose.
The talks about Liverpool having potential interest in him continued to increase, and for most of the summer, it seemed like the deal was on, until Gordon himself confirmed the talks about committing his future to the club long term.
yeah, it's close. I'm really excited. but we'll focus on that when it comes. I'm really excited for today, and I want to get that out of the way first.
When the deal was finally completed, Gordon revealed that it was something he knew was going to happen for a while now.
No, amazing. I've obviously knew this was going to happen since the summer, so...
He's committed his future to Newcastle, meaning for the next couple of years he should get better. Who knows? Maybe he can even become a lot better than his idol. And quick heads up, you won't believe who this is.
I'm going to go Ricardo Quaresma. I don't know if it's classed as a skill, but you remember the outside of the foot shots he used to do?
I wonder if Anthony Gordon knows the story behind Ricardo Quaresma's life, how he got bullied as a kid, or the move to a top team that ruined his career. Click the next video to find out the story of how this player outsmarted Cristiano Ronaldo.